Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to have Sean Holmes, founder of Nectar Sunglasses, based out of Charleston, South Carolina. And I'm excited to have him here and to share this incredibly cool brand that he's created. And he's going to walk us through all of it, but I'm going to turn it over to him and let him introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out and having me on the show. Like you mentioned, live in Charleston, South Carolina. We're based here on James Island, so right between downtown and the beach, which is where we want to be. Surfing's a big part of my life and kind of the foundation of the brand at the very beginning. So yeah, just had our first baby, my wife and I, so getting used to the non-sleep,
Yeah.
2 months old. So it's been a crazy transition, but super exciting.
Very cool. Congratulations to the both of you. I want to hop right in, get into the creation story behind Nectar Sunglasses, how you got it started, all of it.
Yeah, prior to Nectar's foundation, I was in school at VCU in Richmond, Virginia, playing baseball. And like anybody who gets recruited in a scholarship, you think you're going to be a pro. And tail end of my career or there, I realized that that was not really feasible. You have to be really good, and just didn't want that lifestyle of driving a bus in the minors and getting paid nothing. And met an entrepreneur and got an opportunity. Really kind of begged him for an opportunity to learn from him. He was doing squeeze page kind of affiliate marketing, and I just knew there was power in the internet. So he offered if I moved to Atlanta, he would teach me whatever he knew, and I dropped out and moved down there and had a one of my best friends at the time. They were in the Marines together, so him and I moved down and wanted to learn together. Started a business that didn't quite work out. It wasn't a passion by any means, but I was in Atlanta looking for a way to like, all right, I need to redeem myself.
Yeah.
But I did learn so much from that experience of like, all right, I know how to do this. I just, he was kind of needed that structure, and entrepreneurs don't need to thrive in that environment of not having structure.
Yeah.
So, which was fine. I don't think it would have worked out in the long run anyways, but while in Atlanta, one of my buddies I grew up with surfing and skating and snowboarding was into that as well, entrepreneurship, and we decided to like start a business. But basically said like we need this to be a passion of ours. Like what I picked first was an experience, but it wasn't something I'm really into. And um, the idea was like, hey, what is a lifestyle that we want to live? Like I think being a pro surfer, getting to travel around the world and surf the best waves is like something that we envied. Like let's make a product that embodies that. And at that time, there wasn't a ton of eyewear at a lower price point as an option. There was kind of the typical Ray-Ban, Luxottica brands that are 150, $300 pairs of glasses where, it shouldn't be a burden to wear a nice pair of shades. It should be an asset to your outfit or your adventure. And so we picked sunglasses as a way to go in and really kind of niche. Started off as like a party shade. We were just out of college, 23, 24 years old. And it's evolved quite a bit from there. But initially kind of founded off of like even the name. We were looking at the products like, what are you? What is this? Like trying to come up with a name for it, because I knew that was a very important piece. And it went from Latin stuff to made up words. And ultimately we were like, these are fucking sweet. Like, and then Nectar kind of came from that. Even initially we thought it was a little bit weak sounding and maybe
Yeah.
not the best, but it turned out to be great. And yeah, so it started in Atlanta, Georgia, in a tiny apartment, and used to build every pair by hand. So
That's crazy. The by hand part, when I was reading about Nectar and the starting story, like the by hand part was the part that I was like, holy shit. I'm like, that's crazy. But I guess what you were talking about, like, that's entrepreneurship. Like, that is the process of starting out and doing it yourself and doing everything yourself and getting to the point where you can bring on more people. But it's that's a fantastic example of entrepreneurship right there.
yeah, it's amazing to think where we're at today in terms of logistics and
Yeah.
fulfillment to where back then it was the reason we were building them at the time was we offered a custom page where somebody could make red lenses with one white arm and a black arm and blue front. And the reality was no one was really really using that. And it really messed up inventory because we'd be out of black arms and only have the front pieces, and we couldn't make our standard pair black on black, which is the best seller. And it just became a nightmare. And was not really scalable at that rate.
Understandable. You pointed out Ray-Ban. You guys are a lower price point. Outside of price point, what makes Nectar stand out when you're looking at, like you said, Ray-Bans, Oakley, all of these other big sunglass brands, and even smaller brands that are out there today?
Sure, I think, it's a challenge for when you have these companies like Luxottica, Essilor that own a vast majority of this industry that have all the data, they have all the stores and things that they need to make on the fly decisions. But I think at the end of the day, they don't have that touch with their customer like a smaller business can do. And when in eyewear, there's really only a handful of materials that you can use to make sunglasses or frames from. So it's, the differentiation factor to me always comes back to how strong is the brand, how strong is your community that you're building around the lifestyle and values that you embody, and hope to find the people that find those same values in it to
Yeah,
become customers for life. Because if the brand's there, the price is irrelevant, and obviously we don't have this higher price point. It did start at $20,
yeah,
but that was way back in the day. And I think where we landed today, around 49 to 69 in that average, I believe that we're offering the best value and quality that you can possibly buy at
yeah,
that price point. And that's what I try to focus on, is making sure that at the end of the day, they need to perform. The lenses need to work really, really well. And average customer can't tell the difference between the clarity in our lenses, which is one step below glass, to a
yeah,
Costa Del Mar that's $300 that has a
yeah.
glass lens. Um, so the brand for me has always been a big focal point to try to like really treat our customers super well. I think that goes a lot further than people think of.
Yeah.
We're just not, they're not a number in a retail shop. Like, we really care about them and want to make sure that everyone's treated the same way and that we appreciate them.
Talking about how you guys make your glasses, you're repurposing single-use plastics. Can you go into the purpose, first of all, of why you guys started doing that, and then what that process is of using those plastics to create the sunglasses that you guys have?
Yeah. So like I was talking about, just the differences in materials is pretty
Yeah,
tough. And this industry is mainly using just normal plastic, and it's not reusable, it's not recycled. And I was on a surf trip, and actually got to experience seeing like a reef that was fully white capped, and hearing the locals say that 15 years ago it was vibrant and full, and just hit me to my core of just thinking, man, we are producing plastic all the time, and what can I do that's going to help leave less of a footprint, and are there options? And I just spent months trying to dig through like ocean plastics. What does that refinement look like, and
yeah,
sourcing? um we ended up landing on instead of just using water bottles alone, which ended up having a product that felt really, really light. Like, our products are lightweight and intentionally lightweight to not feel heavy on your face and be able to be worn for an extended period of time. But there is a perception with quality when people feel something, and
yeah,
it just felt a little bit too brittle. So we were looking for different solutions and found a plastic that actually mixes bottle caps,
okay,
um, water bottles, and food containers. So like a thicker, heavier, denser plastic. And that actual blend gives a really nice aesthetic to what was matching our prior product. And that was a big proponent of like what I was looking for, while simultaneously making sure that this is recycled the right way, and we source and have partners that do the refinement and washing, and get it into that pellet form that we can actually use at the right temperature to inject them into our glasses.
there's so much science behind all of that too, like the plastics. Like, it's so fascinating to me just how that whole process works, how you can take the plastics, what we have in water bottles and all this stuff that we use in daily life, and get it to sunglasses for you guys, or whether it's shoes or something else. But it's such an interesting process, and I'm glad that we are starting to use and do more of that. To your point, our ocean is filled with it. How can we get it out? How can we use it smarter and in all these different ways? So I'm so glad you guys are one of those companies that does reuse that plastic, and uses it in a smart way. I want to get into the creation process of all of Nectar Sunglasses, from, the frame design to the lens, to how you guys come up with the really cool names you guys have for each of your sunglasses. Starting from beginning to the brainstorm of it all, what does that look like in terms of creating a brand new pair of Nectar sunglasses?
So it is a long process to say the least, and a lot of things go into that. Um, Typically we look for inspiration and things that, whether it's a coastal living, how can this benefit the experiences on the coast or in the mountains, and we're positioned as more of like an everyday active lifestyle. We're not really into mountain biking specifically or running specifically. We're really trying to make products that fit people's lifestyles that like to go on weekend trips and go to music events and go on the beach and the boat. And those are the things that we love doing. So we always kind of look for products, one, that we're lacking. Those are a shape that we're seeing trending that we need to try to create something similar to that we can do in our own way. Um, and it will typically start from drawings and inspiration from drawings, and we take that to a 3D molding process. And one, is just cheaper before we actually make the tooling for it. We're able to test several different times. Typically, we'll go through 4 to 10 different molds that we will tweak a little bit. We'll get dozens of people to come in and try them on if we're making them for a certain face shape or activity, like on boating, for example. Like they're pretty specific about blocking all the light that comes through, and they don't want to see this, or it's touching their cheekbones too much, or how it's sitting on their nose. So all those little elements. Eyewear is a very intimate of a purchase, right? Like we'll do events and seeing people walk up and put them on their nose for 1 second and go, no, these aren't it. It's like, well, you didn't even look in the mirror. Like you look good, but that's how intimate this is and why it is a challenge, for especially e-commerce to like let people try them on. If they don't like them, like they can return them super easily, because if it doesn't feel good, you're not going to wear it. And that's really important. So once we go through that 3D molding process, then we'll take that to tooling and then actual color sampling. And
Okay.
early days of Nectar, there was a lot of vibrant, loud colors. And
Yeah.
I had a guy one time tell me, like, look around, like, how many cars are yellow? I was like, you know what?
Right.
These aren't everyday things, and yellow shades might be worn once at an 80s party or something. So my goal is, one, to make them fit super well, for the lenses to perform really, really well. Obviously, the frame now having this impact is beneficial, but ultimately, like, not chasing trends too far, because they can become dead inventory if you miss that, and that's not who we are in terms of a fashion
Yeah.
company. We really focus on like them being more of an asset to what you're doing, and for the lens to truly enhance that experience and be a part of that ride and journey with you.
Yeah.
um, because it is important for your eye health, and
Yeah.
same time, like, things do look better and it's less eye strain and glare. So that goes into like the making of them, and it does take about 3 to 6 months to really get physical samples, depending on like the pace of what we're going at. um, and the whole naming system, we went through a repositioning, if you will, 3 years ago, and really looking for a way to take our brand and give it more of an identity, because at the early days, there was a lot of trying to be everything to everybody. We were working with people from all over the country, photographers from different countries. Yes, they were giving us cool content, but it wasn't necessarily relatable to where we were selling the most, which is where we grew up on the East Coast. And I don't know anybody who's been to Tahiti, really. Maybe a couple people. Like, how is this kid that wants to take photos in Tahiti, like, really, we tried to focus more on our backyard and take care of this side of the coast. And part of that branding repositioning was like, we are an East Coast brand. This is where we grew up. This is where we live and what we love. And we built this country. Like, we should be proud of that. And a lot of this industry is kind of out west and has this California dreamy lifestyle. But like, for us internally, it's like, fuck that. We have mountains and oceans and rivers too. Like, the sun still sets over here. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of like really unique things that we try to highlight on the East Coast. And, even from accents, you talk for someone from Boston to New York to Philly to Georgia, it is dramatically different. And the nuances of how they talk and treat each other build this character that we're trying to embody. And that goes into the naming system of the glasses, where we want to, take our favorite parts of the East Coast and put them on a pedestal, because we love that area.
But I love that whole process. Uh, and it's so interesting to hear because I think we just think things are made with a snap of our fingers and we're like, oh yeah, here we go. We immediately can have it. And I will also say, from a sunglass wearing person 24/7, once you find that good pair of sunglasses that, like you were saying, like you put on and it fits your face right, you sometimes don't even realize you're wearing sunglasses half the time. Like it's just, it feels like it's a part of your face. Um, Sometimes people will look at me and be like, you know, it's cloudy outside. I'm like, nope, didn't even realize I had my sunglasses on still.
Yeah, that's what we're going for, is finding people like you that it fits. And we can only offer so many different styles and shapes. So we obviously look at a lot of data and see what sells, and try to keep it as close to that as possible, because we know that those work, and don't stretch it a ton, but make sure, again, like just they fit super well and work.
Outside of y'all's website, because I know that's a big e-commerce web place for you guys, but where can people find Nectar sunglasses?
Yeah, obviously the online's gonna have the biggest selection, but we do sell with about 250 different retail partners from Maine to Florida, a few out west, but mainly surf outdoor apparel shops. So typically you'll find us at beach stores like that.
From an entrepreneur's perspective, just looking to pick your mind on a piece of advice you would give somebody who's, you know, it's kind of the time that everybody's going out and creating their own thing or doing their own thing. What is just a piece of advice you would offer someone that's looking to get started doing their own thing?
Probably a lot of stuff, but I think for me, there's a lot that I take to like the mentality of entrepreneurship. Obviously, it's not for everybody, and just having the ability to take a moment before reacting, and try to figure out how to turn that into an opportunity. I think a lot of people take things, and it's the easy way is flipping that switch down to a negative mentality and saying, you know what, we're done. This isn't going to work. But there's always a way to figure things out or flip those into opportunities. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to have that ability to kind of steady the ship, and not make these knee-jerk reactions, because we've had some crazy scenarios that have happened where, yes, I go into a couple of days of a slump, but I have to really dig myself back up and say, you know what, this is an opportunity. And it's made me reach out to people I never would have reached out to. It's made me go down avenues I never would have thought to go down. And it always becomes something that makes you stronger and better. And um, just learning to kind of roll with the punches, because it's never going to be easy. There's going to be factors that happen that are outside of your control. And typically with like myself, when I rely on so many variables to get somebody a pair of glasses, um, you can only control what you can, and knowing that, from a customer standpoint, like the other advice that I give is just like the communication is so crucial. That when I started the company, I worked at a restaurant part-time, and would do orders during the day, and it was just this never-ending thing. But you learn how to treat people and talk to different types of humans. And just an example of like why people send an email when their order's confirmed. It's, if I would see somebody start like doing this killer whale move at a table looking for a server, that's not good, because they've been sitting there too long. If you literally just walked up and said, hey, I just got 3 tables at once, I'm going to get their drinks and I'll come right back and get you, they're going to be like, this dude's cool, we're good. But it's
Yeah.
like that little gap in communication, which might be 2 minutes, is really critical in setting the experience for the entire rest of their journey with your brand or product. Is like that communication is so valuable.
I don't know about you. One thing I do love about the entrepreneurship environment is whether it's good or bad, there's no day that's the same. You're always on your toes, in which I have an appreciation for, because I've been in environments in the corporate world and just other experiences where I'm like, I am bored out of my mind. But when I'm in spaces like this and working with clients, I'm like, I feel energized. I feel like I am the creation process and all of that. Uh, it kind of keeps you energized. And like I said, whether it's a good or bad day, I'd rather have those days than just be bored out of my mind.
Yeah, it's I love the fact that, you know, I just like finding solutions and navigating situations, and every day is different. Like you said, I'll come in for one goal and not get that done because 10 other things came up, and that's just part of it. But I like to adapt and evolve, and continue to try to find solutions for things to continue to get better. I think it goes back to like playing baseball my entire life and practicing one thing and knowing that these little tweaks make a big difference. And that's what it is. It's, at any point, if I had stopped swinging one summer, I'd lose my swing, and then you're
Yep.
like behind again. So like you can't stop working on your craft, and that's all this is just continuously effort to like refine and tweak and refine and tweak and keep getting better. So it's never ending.
100%. Starting out, you building glasses in your apartment in Atlanta to now having a team of people, like what is important from you from a founder's perspective of building your team? Who are you looking for? What is kind of the personality you're looking to bring onto your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody hiring it is a challenge. People are hard. Business fundamentally is not that hard, but people that have emotions and needs and expectations and it's hard to find the right people. I look for people that do have some sort of entrepreneurial kind of mentality where like, hey, like I would rather you get it as far as you can before coming to me than just ask me how to do something. And I've learned that you can't teach work ethic. Like people either have it or they don't. In the environment that we're in now, there's a lot of younger kids, if you will, that just don't have that innate work ethic, which is um, it is what it is. They just don't have it. So we gotta find
Yeah,
the people that do that. And then from like a cultural standpoint, like I look not to find the same people. I want to find what is our culture lacking and what can we add that's going to add value. And like some of our teams surf, they don't all have to love to surf, but that is, our policies. If there's waves, we go do it and we work after. And I want them to make sure they enjoy their lifestyle. And, you know, it all kind of varies from business to business, but I think finding the right people that have work ethic that want to grow is really what I look for. And to me, it's more of like a mentorship than a boss. I know that they have it in them, but a lot of times maybe in the corporate world, which I've never really experienced, but I would rather invest in them long term and know that, hey, when you leave, I'd rather you learn things here and set yourself up for success for whatever else you do and hope to put you in situations that you feel a little bit maybe out of your league, but that's a good place to be in when you're having to solve these things and push yourself rather than being in a complacent, you know, boring job.
yeah,
So that's my goal with our employees is to continuously push them and make sure I listen to them as well. I think it's important that I know what's going on a little bit in their life because there are factors that come into your work productivity that you might not want to talk about. And I think that goes back to communication of, hey, like if you want more time at home, like I'm not a mind reader. If we need to have that conversation, or if you want more money, like I'm not going to give you more money. Like let's figure out a way that we can make you more money. And so I just find that if employees start festering things a little bit too long, that's when negative stuff starts creeping into the environment and the culture. And I try to solve that by continuously just getting coffee with them once a month or doing lunch or something to like take it away from work and like they're like, "Are you good?" And
yeah,
make
yeah.
sure that's a big part of our family here.
Love it. And I think that goes back to the piece of advice you just gave too, like that open communication. You're not a mind reader at all. You got to be able to tell, so you got to be able to tell, have them be able to tell you what is going on. Uh, I think that's extremely important. And I love that, when surf's on, see ya.
Yeah. Our team, like I tell them, like I can handle bad news. What I can't handle is no news. Like if you don't tell me, we can't find a solution for this. Like just gets worse. And businesses taught me like you can't hide anything. It's going to come back around. It's going to pop up. It's like you can push it off, but the reality is we're going to face this thing at one moment. So let's just hit it head on and get past it. And obviously it's probably easier said than done if something bad happens, but I've had an employee that was like, "Oh, I thought this was going to be 300 and it was $3,000." I don't know, like just weird things. It's like, well, you
Yeah,
could have told me that bill was coming through, and
yeah.
it's not the biggest deal, but I'm sure it was a big deal to tell me that you messed up.
My last question for you, Sean, is just what inspires you?
Um, I think deep down, like I just internally want to view myself as successful in what I'm doing and impacting people, and whether it's employees or customers, and even on the like I mentioned, like some of those hard days, like I'll have to go read reviews and be like, oh shit, all right, people love this. Like
Yeah, yeah,
bring myself back up, but at the end of the day I want to make sure that I get fulfillment from knowing that I'm creating something and growing something and creating a livelihood for other people and creating an awesome product and brand that resonates with people. That's what inspires me to keep going.
bad reviews, never a good thing to look at either. I'm always like, I don't want to go look at the comments. It's just awful world in the comments
Mhm.
sometimes.
It can be good though if you find the good ones.
They might give you some good feedback. There may be some good things to learn in there. But Sean, I can't thank you enough for joining me today and walking me through Nectar and y'all's history and what you guys continue to do every single day. So I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean's socials are going to be linked down below. So is Nectar's. So please go give them a follow. But I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.